Hi, today we're going to be learning how to pull two data sets from the web and merge them together. We do data merges when we want to do analysis involving variables that come from more than one different data set. And the two data sets we're going to be working with is the data set from Gleditch 2002 and from Polity 4. If you're not already familiar with these data sets, you likely will at some point use them if you're a comparativist or working in IR. The Gleditch 2002 data has a lot of important structural and macroeconomic variables like population for a country, as well as its GDP and GDP per capita. Often we'll include these variables in our models as controls because they're very important to include to preclude omitted variable bias. Polity 4 is very important because it has a lot of specific variables that pertain to a country's political institutions, and it's probably most famous for specifically a country's polity score, which is a ordinal variable going from -10 to 10, so it's a 21-point scale, measuring the degree of to which a country's political institutions are democratic. -10 reflects a perfect autocratic system, whereas 10 reflects a perfect institutional democracy. So there's a lot of different research questions that one might want to examine, which would necessitate including both these types of variables in their model, which is what motivates our data merge. As we go forward with this, I encourage you to download from Elms the do file, which is the same one I'll be working off of, and work along with that and type the commands into the command prompt. I'll try to move slowly though, so everyone has a chance to catch up. So the first step is to set the memory. Now this is an unnecessary step if you're working with some of the more recent versions of Stata, but for Stata 9 and earlier, it's a necessary thing to do to tell Stata how much memory to use in its operations. It likely is not necessary if you're using Stata version 10 or later, but if you're using maybe some of the computers in the grad offices, it's a necessary step. Certainly nothing bad happens if you set the memory and it's not necessary. So as you can see, I tried to set the memory. I'm working with Stata 12, and Stata's told me it's not necessary. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to pull first the Gleditch 2002 data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the code here and paste it into the command window. So the command we want to use here is infile. Infile is used for pulling data from the web that isn't necessarily in Stata format. Specifically, it's as a pure text file. So there are three components to this command. The first is the actual command, infile. And then if we go to the end, we see using, and then the full web address of the text file we want it to see. This is actually Christian Gleditch's website, which contains the data. So note that we're not just using the web address of the site, we're actually using the direct link to the file. And then we need to tell Stata what variables we want it to pull. So here we have some variables. We have the pop variable, which is the population that we also want. However, we also have things like ID num and year. These are things that identify the observations as country year. As we get to the merge stage, you'll see why those country year identifiers are important. But the first step is to pull the data from the web. So we just hit enter. And we see that Stata has done that. Stata has pulled a data set of almost 17,000 observations. And we see that in the variables window that we now have all the variables that we told Stata to pull from the Gleditch website. However, we note there's some funny business going on here. We see that for 4 of these variables, it says cannot be read for a number for ID num1. So that's saying for the first observation in the data set, it can't read the data because there's not a number there. So we should just take a quick look going into the data editor. And you'll actually see here that the first observation, the first row, remember in Stata's sort of matrix here, each row is an observation, each column is a variable. We have missing values. So this is just likely just a way the text was formatted on the Gleditch website. This was not actually an observation, but it was formatted in such a way that Stata interpreted it as a separate observation. So we can close that. And what we then want to do is we just want to drop that first observation because it is not, in fact, an observation. So we are going to just quickly drop that observation. So one observation deleted, and we can just go back and confirm that yes, in fact, that observation is gone. And our first observation is good data, USA 1816. Population probably in thousands, so that's about 9 million. So that's all good. Okay, that's it for now. The next video we'll talk about renaming some of the variables in the Gleditch data so they're compatible for the merge.